Welcome to Finance Magnates Executive Interviews once more. Thank you for joining us today. We have Tony Rose, co-founder and director at LNP Audit and Assurance. Thank you so much for joining us, Tony.
Thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit how the event is going so far. How is LNP Audit doing at the event?
Okay, so this is our second Finance Magnates event. The first one was the one in Sydney just recently, and this is an excellent forum to meet all of our clients and a lot of our clients and lots of providers. There seems to be quite a lot of technology providers here today. In Sydney I think there was a few more brokers, but Sydney was a bit smaller than this, so it's going quite well. I only got off the plane yesterday, so I'm a bit jet lagged, so you'll have to forgive me for that. So.
We apologize in advance for the jet lag. We can totally relate to that. When we were going to Sydney, it was us being jet lagged.
It's a long way.
So thank you so much for making the effort for this interview.
I appreciate the opportunity.
We know you're very tired, but it's going to be very smooth. So LNP has been around for quite a while in the market, we understand. Mostly focused on Sydney, but expanding into other markets. So what is the leadership style that LNP Audit has right now? What does it make it special?
So, I mean, the thing about LNP is that we have a very flat structure. And what that means is everybody can say anything they want to anybody. And that's a good thing, because another thing that I really like about it, and I think most people like, is we have a lot of very charismatic people. So we're not shrinking violets, and we're not particularly quiet. So we have a good atmosphere, and it's good that, you know, if people want to say something, they will say something, which means that we can change things. And because we have a very flat structure, it doesn't take too long to change things. So, and you know, I think we listen a lot to our team. I mean, our team is our key asset. We sell people's time. That's what we do. We go to clients and we get people spending time doing work for clients, and our people are our most important asset by
You're very
a long way.
people-centric.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about people. I mean, people and clients are people as well, but our staff, or our team, they're by far the most important thing we have. So we have to look after them.
It's very interesting, considering that you have been around for 10, 15 years.
The firm, this LNP was formed just over 12 and a half years ago now. Prior to that, we had some clients that we still have, and some of those are OTC derivative people. So yeah, look, we've got a number of people that have been with us throughout that whole time, and that's a really good thing.
I assume that extends to clients as well.
Yes, we have one. He shall remain nameless, but he was our. I've been working with him since 2004. And he's been really helpful and really instrumental. Thank you, Lance. He knows who he is. So.
That one's for you. So what are the benefits that are making Lars and many others stay with LNP and work more with your brand?
So LNP is a specialist audit firm. We don't do tax, we don't do corporate finance, we don't do legal, we don't do all that sort of stuff. We're not a conglomerate. We don't have conflicts of interest like the large firms do, and you know, some of them have been getting into a lot of trouble lately with regulators around the world. We don't have any of that issue. But more to the point, because we're a specialist, we train people in that area only. And because we're a specialist, we can afford to specialise from an industry perspective. And we've been very lucky over the years to build up a real strength and depth of experience in financial services, and in particular over-the-counter derivative traders. So, for example, in Australia there's approximately 60 licenses. Probably only 30 of them are used in a strong manner. We would have worked with all of those people over the time that we've been in existence.
So we have the list.
Sorry?
So we have the list.
Yes, and at the moment we're probably working with 20 of them. So that's in Australia, and as a result, we know a lot about the way the industry works, particularly around compliance and what the regulator is doing. And because the clients are global, They have 24/7 or 24/6. They have regulated entities around the world, and the regulations are pretty similar. And we've been expanding over that time into other other jurisdictions. And at the moment, I wouldn't like to say how many jurisdictions we do, but it's probably approaching 10. So there's Australia, New Zealand, Seychelles, Mauritius, various in the Caribbean. There's all around the world. There's lots of different. And one of the reasons I'm here is we're in the process of setting up a UK entity. So we're going to become registered over here, and so we'll have a firm that can do FCA work.
So I'm assuming that all of this picture comes into the vision of the company?
Absolutely. So if you've got a client that operates around the world, and they might have 4 or 5 entities around the world, if you give them great service in that area, and you currently do the work in 1 or 2 of their jurisdictions, well, why not do the work in the other 2 or 3? Because trading foreign CFDs is relatively similar all around the world. The thing that's different is the regulation and the time zone. So if you've got 5 service providers doing, I'm going to put my neck out. We know what we're doing in this area. What we find is when we talk to clients, they say to us, "You've done a really good job. We'd like you to do our other entities." So that's much easier to grow the firm that way than it is to go and find new clients in new areas. And so, what the key strength is, because we've got the audit specialisation, we can focus on the industry specialisation, and that's been instrumental over the last 10 or 12 years in growing the firm. We've grown, it's like compound annual growth rate of somewhere between 15 and 20%, which is quite a lot. And it's hard work, but because we're doing the same work with similar clients, it's good. And this industry is pretty fast moving, so it's not boring. There's so much going on. It's hilarious.
I keep saying this today. Every single conversation I'm having, including the different panels that I was moderating earlier on, is that the only constant that we have in this industry is change.
Absolutely.
So us, for example, as Finance Magnates, as a group, we're loyal to change. We don't want to just be part of change. We want to be proactive in change. We want to provide the ecosystem where every single brand here can gather either through the networking gatherings, through the journalism we do, the reports, the research, all the data that we provide. And you guys are, part of this industry, and the access that you have to the data and the vision that you can provide to your clients. And there was something very interesting said in one of the panels earlier. It was the term glocalization. So it's one of the strategies that apparently all the brokers and your clients included, I guess you can confirm this, is that they're all global, but they're focusing locally as well. And I'm guessing that's why
exactly what we're doing, because we have, let's take a typical broker. They'll typically have operations in 3 different time zones: Asia Pacific, the US, or if Canada or something, and somewhere in Europe or the Middle East. So that because they're going to try and cover 24 hours. It's the same people typically. They'll have a call center, maybe somewhere in Asia, maybe somewhere in the Middle East, maybe somewhere in Europe, doing the same thing. So it's globalized services, but locally delivery.
Tailored, right? It's customized.
And I think that's exactly our strategy. So we've got global clients, and we'll serve them locally from different areas around the world, and that's a real strength of this industry, I think. And Finance Magnates, we've really been starting to be involved in this for the last couple of years now. As we get more involved in the global side of it, as opposed to the Asia Pacific, it's really useful. And it gets us the opportunity to, I'm very honoured to walk in here, and some people have actually said hello to me. And like when we went to Sydney for the first time, when we went to this, I walked in and a lot of people knew who we were, and I thought that was brilliant.
That's amazing.
And in here it's not quite the same because it's on the other side of the world.
Right.
But give it a couple of years and we'll get there. So this is a really fantastic forum, and
I'm very happy to hear
we
that.
Appreciate the fact that you guys have been doing this for so long. So
I'm very thankful for that appreciation. It's really our aim, our mission to enable this industry through our ecosystem, bringing them both online, offline, through our news and everything to be able to, grow and be part of the change and drive the industry forward. Because, bringing actors such as yourselves on the side of the regulatory, the compliance, the auditing, bringing the regulator also on side, bringing the broker on side, the technology on it, everybody, so these discussions can happen. This is where the magic happens, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean,
on
Sydney,
a webinar, in a conversation, I'm sure the moment you step out of here, you're going to have a conversation that maybe,
Absolutely. And when we were in Sydney, there was a couple of regulators turned up to the conference then.
Yeah.
And we like to engage with regulators because the more they know who we are, the more they're okay with entrusting us with doing that work.
Correct.
And we were invited over to their country to go and do some work afterwards. And it was good to meet them. And we've met them before, but it was good to meet them again. And I don't know what regulators are here today, but
they are.
Good. That's good. It's really good to engage with regulators in that respect.
Yes, it's very useful for the whole industry, for all of the actors to participate, and I think it's very useful for them as well.
Yes.
Because it helps them understand what's going on from the ground up.
Yeah.
Etc. So.
And they can see that this is a professional organisation, a professional business that's trying to do something well. It's not trying to be under the carpet or anything like that. It's trying to do the right thing.
Correct.
And follow all the rules and make sure that everybody does business in a good way.
I'm going to pick up your brain for a second right here. I know you're very tired, but
that's okay.
But I want to piggyback on your experience. Considering all your baggage, your knowledge, all your experience from Asia Pacific especially, and now being in London, expanding into other regions, what do you foresee? What are the trends? What do you forecast for the next 5 years for this industry?
Okay, so 4 or 5 years ago, the average leverage in OTC trading was well in excess of 150, 200. So lots of brokers were allowing, some people were allowing 1,000.
Yeah.
And then it became 500. And then the FCA came along and said we want it to be 30. And then various other brokers said 30, regulators said 30. And then ASIC came along and said 30. And in Asia Pacific, ASIC was the sort of trusted regulator. But ASIC came along and said we want it to be 30. And as a result of that, everybody ran away from Australia. Because if you've got clients that are trading at 150, 200, leverage and all of a sudden it's 30, it makes much more sense to paper them somewhere else. So they did. And Australia really became an LP within the group. So the license was used from a marketing perspective because it's trusted and all that sort of stuff. Credibility, yep. And at the same time it was used as the liquidity provider for the group. So because it was a wholesale transaction, you didn't have to worry about the leverage in that respect. So the licenses remained, but to a lot of people left the industry because the number of retail clients in that country went down. Yeah. And what you're finding around the world is regulatory arbitrage is happening all the time. Change is constant, as you said. And I think we're finding that the average leverage around the world is coming down. And whereas 10 years ago it might have been 500 or whatever it was, today I think it's a lot less, and it will continue to come down. And sooner or later, 30 will not be out of the park to be reasonable. And at that point, the major jurisdictions, so FCA, ESMA, SISEC, although they're not, and Australia and a few others, they will sort of come back up again. So I think there'll be change. And then the other big change at the moment is crypto. Australian licenses used to trade for a lot of money, and then 2 or 3 years ago the value of those licenses came down because of the leverage restrictions, and now they've gone back up again. And the reason for that is because crypto operators want to have licenses that people can be confident in, so that the confluence of crypto and the existing ecosystem, I think that's going to be a huge change. And I think the regulators around the world, with the exception of Singapore, nobody's really regulated crypto in the same way as CFDs have been regulated. The sooner that somebody gets on board with that, the sooner that the public and and the big end of town, the institutional end of town, can trust crypto, the sooner that can be brought in. I think when that happens, it's another product at the end of the day. It will continue the growth of the industry around the world. So I think there will be regulatory arbitrage continuing, and I think crypto that's the thing that's happening at the moment.
It's very interesting what you're saying, because also from our eagle's eye, let's say, of the industry, because we also did the event in Sydney, so before that we had obviously tested the waters, and we see growth not only
absolutely.
in APAC, obviously, as an emerging markets in the emerging economies, but also in Australia, ASIC as a regulator, because like you're saying, for credibility and authority, etc. But there is a lot of brands, a lot of brokers from around the world that they're now going into Australia. It has taken them a while.
Yes.
But in Sydney, they were not there yet because the license was not fully activated, so it was a little bit late. But we do know of a few major players that are stepping foot.
There's certainly
Australia,
a few license applications happening at the moment. So, and licenses are still trading.
Yeah.
There's been a couple that have been sold over the last year. So.
Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing your insights, and I hope you get a good rest, well-deserved rest.
I can get a rest later. This is good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been very much appreciated.
I'm very glad to have you with us today.